try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Detecting 12, take a check that one out.
6-1 bullet, 2-1 start, take a shot.
Officer still stands for talk. No. Offender in custody. Thanks. Anyone else close by 50 or something, let me know. First number. 10-4. Officer still stands for talk. No. Offender in custody. Thanks. Anyone else close by 50 or something, let me know. 10-5. 33.
3-3. Can you let us supervisor know that I have to report with express attached?
1830.
Yeah, possible here and welcome.
The first number. 10-4.
There we go. It's Sunday night. Is everything going okay with you guys over there in California, Yolie, with the fires and stuff now? Is it calmed down?
It's calmed down, but now the protests, there's a bunch of protests.
Yeah.
The 101 freeway is shut down.
Whoa. Wow.
It's just
constant chaos.
Tell me about it. So I was just watching the protests, and it's just, I don't know, it's very disheartening. And then I heard that another plane caught fire in Houston.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, and they still can't find the black box for that jet either in Philly.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Just a lot of nerve-wracking things going on.
It is. Just so much stuff going on. Every day you wake up, you're like, it's almost like you're used to waking up, to some kind of shocking news lately. This whole year is just...
I mean, this whole month. Yeah, they're protesting in Houston as well. It's getting pretty bad.
It's just, here's to 2025, and I'm like... It just keeps getting worse every day. I don't,
I don't know what to do.
Well, even on YouTube, the real streets and the YouTube streets, it's just getting... Dallas too.
Yeah, it's bad. I was watching some YouTubers in the news, and it's bad. The police are coming out, and it's just sad. I mean, it's like we're destroying ourselves.
Yeah, just like when the fires were going on and there was people like actually setting fires. It's like, what are you doing?
Blowtorches.
Yeah.
And there were fires all over the place here in Orange County, but they kept it quiet and they contained them. So I didn't know. I mean, I tell you, there was a big black cloud up above my sky, like black. And I thought, what the hell's going on? Well, there was arson at the waste management facility in Irvine, which is...
And then fake firefighters that are being found out they've been previously convicted of arson before and all this. It's like...
And then they stole 2 Humvees from the Irvine military base, which is 2 people...
How does this happen?
And, they kept that really quiet, it didn't make much news, but yeah, 2 make-believe firefighters broke in, stole 2 Humvees with military equipment. I don't think they stole like ammunition
weapons
or
and stuff. Yeah.
They just stole like armament. I don't know what that means, like equipment. But yeah, that was kept quiet.
It's crazy, the mainstream media, what they're willing to not talk about. I'm sure, as with everything, I'm sure government had something to do with it too. Tomorrow is supposed to be a big protest day. Really? See, I've been all sucked up into the plane crash, trying to get the updates, and then doing that show earlier, and then trying to get some rest. I didn't even know about these protests going on. I had seen something earlier today, maybe when I was doing my show actually this morning.
Yeah, people are going to get hurt, and it's just crazy. I mean,
what's up, Jennifer?
Well, but we have Idaho 4 to talk about.
Yes, we do. And my favorite part of the hearings is the testimonies of Payne and Mowry. uh, oh man, I remember. I mean, I was still sick. I was still kind of trying to come out of that sickness that I had, and I remember sitting there, even though my mind was half cloudy and I didn't have any energy, and I felt like uh, I was sitting there like it was almost giving me energy in a weird way because I was sitting here going, I can't believe I'm hearing this. I cannot believe this. But then it also made me feel really sad because I'm sitting there going, and this is what was confusing about the interviews afterwards. I'm sitting there going, you guys are basically seeing what the trial, little bits and pieces of what it's going to be like in that courtroom for the trial. A lot of, I don't know. Do you think Payne and Mowry, when it comes to these questions of I don't remember or I can't recall, do you think that they're going to answer those they would have to answer those questions in a trial, no?
Well, in these types of hearings, it's kind of like you're establishing what they did, and you can't remember every single thing you did in a case. That's why you took notes, right?
You would think you would
You'd have notes.
that you would read your stuff before you go show up, right?
Well, you would want to. I mean, it's like a doctor. If a doctor gets up on the stand, they've already reviewed their notes.
Yeah.
Their what they've done or what procedure they've done. So it's kind of the same. But in this particular case, it's she's putting on evidence for motions to suppress. And like, I don't have experience in doing that because I do civil. But I would imagine it's the same. I mean, they would have to be prepared to answer the questions. But what alarms me more so is when they say, I don't know. And then the follow-up question I would ask is, well, is there anything that you could look at that could help you find out who the lead FBI agent was or who the FBI agent was that was in charge of this? Because they have to have some kind of paper trail. I mean, well, for the most part, the lay people will look at it and say, this looks bad. And the attorney
like me, right?
And attorneys might look at it and say, boy, there's something off here. I mean, I wouldn't say it. I would say that the motion to compel, the very first time we had Payne testify and Mowry, when they did the motion to compel, I think he even told her, well, you're going to have to check the evidence room because I don't know where those videos are. I mean, that's like, she should not be having to go check the evidence room.
Right. At least it's not the blood dryer next to the yearly fireworks show bucket that they have.
They had the updated didn't they have the updated police department by the time
that
happened.
Yeah, but I mean,
oh my God.
It just always cracks me up. I gotta try and find that video because I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't remember.
Oh, it's hilarious.
That video of Payne. That's where we discovered the clip-on tie and how he uses the same clip-on tie in all of these TV appearances and press conferences.
It was hilarious.
The fry tie, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I think Detective won. I think Detective won that actually, because we only made one of them. But what? Okay, so you said that I don't know is worse. Why is I don't know worse than I don't recall?
Because it's reasonable to think you can't recall every single thing that you did in a case.
Okay.
And he's like the sequence of events, for example. That's why you would keep notes. Okay, like you would have something to refer to. And I don't know about these hearings, and I don't know why they didn't ask, like why the attorney didn't ask, is there something that you could look at to refresh your recollection? because that's what they do. You can refresh somebody's recollection because they're not expected to know every single thing they did, especially when they're stressed or they're, this was a crime. And so you try to document as much as you can. So when they say, I don't remember, it's kind of like the next question is there anything that will help refresh your recollection, what you did or whatever? And normally they'll say, well, my notes. And then it's kind of like a foundational thing. Okay, we'll refer to your notes. But, we had this issue with the exhibits and things were, in this hearing, that the judge made them make a list of all the exhibits. And I think that is out now. I've seen people going over them. A list identifying all the exhibits and what they are. That ideally should have been prepared before and had a book with all the exhibits together so that everybody can refer to the same thing. But, I'm sure it's resources that is an issue. And, trying to be organized when you don't have a lot of resources it's probably difficult. So I don't recall it could be a tactic, but it could also mean that they don't recall. And if they don't follow up with the question, like, was there anything that you could look at to help refresh your recollection? Then I don't recall is I don't recall. And it's not finished, but I don't know how these hearings are supposed to proceed. And I don't know, but that's just my take as an attorney generally. Mm-hmm. Somebody mm-hmm. like, Andrea Burkhart or somebody who practiced criminal law might have a better understanding of the process. But, to all of us, to anybody, it looks bad, right?
Yeah.
But the I don't know is like, why don't you know? Shouldn't you know? Like, shouldn't you know which agent you assigned to do whatever? Because, put it this way, Payne basically farmed out the work because, it required different specialties. Mm-hmm. So, and then they made such a big deal about, did you serve the warrant with the affidavit? And I don't know what the significance of that, because I don't deal with warrants, but yeah, they were saying, did you serve the warrant with the affidavit? No. And I don't know if that makes a difference or not, and I don't know why they focus so much on that. So we can
probably because they're trying to argue that the searches were illegal already, so maybe they're trying to include or make sure everything's on record, what was used, what wasn't used, so that way if it gets argued, they already know everything that they did, so that way they know for sure.
It's funny that they do know. I don't know if it's typical that when you serve the warrant onto like Google, you serve it, so that you can get information. I don't know if it's typical that you do have the affidavit of probable cause attached, because we're talking a bunch of search warrants, and I didn't get into that much detail, but we're talking a bunch of search warrants that had affidavits of probable cause. And there were typos, like one of them had the heading of another detective, and then it was Payne's signature. Mm-hmm. It was like cut and paste type of thing.
Yeah. It's like they all just, it's almost like, because to me it looked bad, because I'm sitting there going, number one, I can't believe I'm hearing this in a court hearing, because you would expect, I know me, I had to deal with a courtroom when I was fighting for full custody of my daughter, and I had to represent myself, and you have to be prepared. It's what you should do. Either side, you should be prepared. This stuff's real, and you would think, number one, with the level of tragedy that came from it, that would implanted in your head certain things that you could never forget. And also, you would think that, especially if you're on the side where you're trying to hold the person you charged accountable and have the full justice for these victims that you're fighting for, I would also think that you would be more prepared in that court hearing as well. So to me, it did look bad because I'm looking at both sides going, if I was in those shoes and it was about making sure I got 100% justice for these victims, I'd be doing my damn job, and I'd be going way beyond that to make sure, because I would hate to have that feeling on my conscience where something that I did or didn't do contributed to something like that happening.
Like
And
getting evidence excluded, yeah.
yeah, so it's like that's the one thing that I came away with was like, and both of them, Maori was a little better. He didn't forget as much, but when I'm sitting there and I'm going, I could picture myself being a dad too. Like when I look at this situation, it's from so many different angles. I pictured myself being a dad in the back of that courtroom, and that being my daughter, and me sitting there listening to that cop say that, or those detectives say that, when I've been told this whole time that it's a slam dunk. And then I'm sitting here going, okay, I can think for myself here. It would look bad for me there, and I would start losing confidence. So, um,
And it could be
I,
that it was just in trial, they're going to be way different. And so the defense has the burden of proof in trying to suppress these motions. So, of course, they're not going to be helpful. But in terms of a tactic, I see that tactic in depositions, but it's like, well, can I refresh your recollection?
yeah,
Is there anything and they say yes, and then I show them whatever it is that their note or whatever. So, I don't know how police records are kept or what notes they keep, but certainly, on certain things, it was worse on the motions to compel. I mean, it got to the point where he said, I don't know where that video is. You'll have to check the evidence, custodian of evidence in the evidence room. It's like, shouldn't the attorney should be talking to the Payne and saying, tell me where those things are so I can give them over.
yeah,
Get them.
yeah,
She
yeah.
shouldn't have to be going to the evidence custodian. I mean, that's like,
I don't know. So you think maybe that could be like something they're holding in their back pocket, like, okay, we're gonna keep this for we're gonna say I don't know, I don't recall, just to try and throw you curveballs in trial. So then when
they
we do
shouldn't do
answer the
that.
question, you don't know what to expect. I
They
mean,
shouldn't do that.
I
But
don't s- I don't understand. I don't understand how the two lead investigators don't remember who they work with, who they gave info to, who they exchanged information with. How many times they did certain warrants. I mean, all these different things.
well,
I'm just,
when he would say, they asked if, I think it was Maori or one of them, but they asked, did you have any communications with anybody at Google regarding the warrant? I don't remember. And then she brought out an email and she showed him and she said, is this an email between you and somebody at Google? Yes. We were talking about whatever. So
the wrong address too.
Oh, I didn't see those search
The
warrants.
wrong email.
Those search warrants, I didn't even get into them because reality is I've never done them. I don't have any experience, and I don't want to say I do or try to figure it out because they have different forms. Like because so many agencies were involved, and Washington and Idaho and the state and the FBI, they have different forms, and so when you're looking, that's why she kept asking about the forms. Where did you get that form? There's something to it, but I can't speak on that because I don't have the experience. The experience. I mean, for the arrest warrant, maybe, yeah, I could. I saw what they did for the arrest warrant, and they arrested him as a fugitive under the Pennsylvania fugitive statute, which, in my opinion, did not apply to him. And they went a step further to a no-knock warrant because they had the connection, which was the DNA on the knife sheath and the father's match to that. So they had a connection. And if you look at the press conference in Pennsylvania, if you review that, it's very telling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's they just even in their PCA for the search warrant. You know, it's like, hey, right off the bat, hey, we're just doing this because we were given this from this person. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. You could see the the precautionary measure that was taken place from both Pennsylvania and Washington when it comes to the search warrants. They, hey, we're only doing this because they gave it to us.
Oh,
You know.
but the Pennsylvania detective or whoever he was, I don't remember who he was, that was talking in the press conference. He seemed at the end of the press conference, he said, well, we have our ways. Like they asked him about something and he goes, we have our ways. Very, oh, okay.
Well, I'll be honest, Pennsylvania, they do their stuff up there. The law enforcement up there. They do they're pretty they're pretty good. You know, it's not like some buffoon stuff in some other cases where they don't even have the right date for somebody's case. But I know PA's pretty good. So you know, when it comes to that, even though to them, you know, this is how it has to be. You even see it with retired law enforcement. When we're sitting here and we're looking at things and we're like, wow, this don't make sense. It still might they still might get to that same point, but all the time it's like, well, it's got to be true, you know, like because of the camaraderie and all that, you know, it's got to be true. It's got to be true until it's proven in a court. You know, because you see some of this, like even with the knife sheath, there was so many retired that had said, you know, before BK's car was searched, you know, and what the results were found out from, you know, hey, if I'm telling you right now, there's got to be DNA in the car, you know, and I'm like, yeah, there has to be. You know, I come from a profession where I had to make sure things look like showroom, and the to try and think that you can disinfect a vehicle from all DNA, it's not. It ain't happening. And so, you know, it was those. Well, there's got to be DNA in the car when it's found out that there was no DNA connection to the home in PA. To the apartment in Washington, to the vehicle, to anything else. You know, that right there should have, you know, let some of these people know, like, oh, shoot, this could be reasonable doubt here. And maybe it's not 100%, and then there's still all about that. So, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's so crazy when it comes to just how headstrong they are about certain things, and sometimes you just got to take a step back. But another thing that was crazy, you know, it was almost like I don't know where Payne gets these achievements and stuff, because if you look at the PCA, it's sloppy as hell and not prepared. If you look at the testimony that he did in this court hearing, it's sloppy and not prepared. To me, that tells me that he's a sloppy and not prepared person.
Well, the hearing regarding the motions to compel that was like a year ago, that was worse than this, I thought, because she was trying to get information, and they weren't even told to look for the information until a day before the hearing, which
Right.
which is outrageous. Okay, So to me, that hearing was worse. This hearing had some issues too, because there
He
was
had the wrong email. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
The wrong email.
And then it had also too, there was a letter that Payne got regarding the arrest of Brian Koberger in Pennsylvania. He got a letter from either the Pennsylvania State Police or something. He got it just recently, and there's no date on it, that said we're switching it to a different type of warrant when they arrested Brian Koberger. So it's like, and you're sending this letter now? Why? In preparation for the hearing? Yeah. Okay. Like, seriously, you're not dating a letter. You're sending it now. So Pennsylvania, I don't know. They're probably good for the most part, but with this, when they arrested Luigi Mangiano,
yeah,
the governor was involved. The governor made a press conference and was gonna have to possibly sign a governor's warrant because it was an out-of-state person that was a fugitive. And he was a fugitive because he was seen, shooting. And the governor was involved. And usually when there's a fugitive that's captured, the governor has to be aware of it. But, I don't know what happened with Brian Koberger, but they arrested him under a fugitive warrant. He was extradited. And
I think because, think about it like this, and maybe this is why. Because you see how they worded their search warrant. Hey, we're only doing this because of what they gave us, what Idaho gave us. And then you see kind of like look at what is being revealed in these court hearings, right? And what's being shown or being available or missing or being argued. And I can guarantee that these people in Pennsylvania are watching these court hearings too. And I can guarantee you that there's people sitting up in that high office upstairs going, look, this don't like, it's a good thing that we said, hey, we're only doing this because they gave us this. But maybe you see them maybe starting to, you think maybe kind of going, okay, we need to back away from this a little bit here because
you don't hear much from them,
right?
Yeah,
we need to back away from it a little bit,
right?
I don't know. They're very effective, and I don't know. I could just see them going, oh, shoot, because when it comes to that search warrant and how it was performed and what they did, just hearing some of the stuff that we heard about them watching him through a scope on a sniper rifle for, multiple days so they could watch him. I mean, that's crazy right there. What if somebody accidentally made him, just bumped it, and next thing you know, he's gone. I mean, I can't.
They watched him jogging around the neighborhood.
Crazy.
They arrested him.
Can you imagine? Like, you go outside or you're sitting in your house and you don't even know that you're just sitting in a scope the whole time for multiple days. I can't even imagine. And then if somebody makes a mistake, look at all these mistakes that are happening in the real world right now. Somebody makes a mistake and, oh, man. So I don't know. I could see them going, how can they can do that, right? I mean, that's weird, though. It hasn't gone to trial. They're having court hearings.
Well, they're filing.
Yeah,
they're filing motions to suppress all of the evidence so that it gets down to the fact that there's no probable cause, and then the case gets dismissed.
Yeah.
So that they're challenging it. The defense is challenging all of these search warrants and the arrest warrant in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're challenging it, and they're also asking for a Frank's hearing, and they provided all the evidence, like the letter. I don't know if it's on that sheet, but the letter that she brought up that was sent to Payne just recently in preparation for the hearing on that day. Like, It wasn't at the time of the arrest that they sent a letter saying we're changing it to this type of arrest, a no-knock warrant to go into the house. It was sent just recently, and he admitted in preparation for the hearing. So those things are suspect to me, and so the defense is challenging all of this so that at some point, you chip away at everything. What's left? If there isn't probable cause left, then there's no case.
Well, it's like how they kept getting denied from the judge until they added the DNA onto the probable
and
cause.
I don't know how many times they got denied from the judge, or if they did. I had asked that question once before. I thought,
yeah,
I wonder how many times they submitted it.
Yeah, I could have swore it was. Gosh, if anybody remembers, this was in a court hearing.
I know I brought it up because I wanted to know how many times did they submit the arrest warrant to.
It was so long ago. I thought it was in the very beginning of the court hearings, like a year and some ago.
I don't remember.
Right in the very beginning, because that's when I started saying if you don't have the DNA, you don't have a PCA.
Yeah.
Instead of the glove won't fit, you must acquit. If you don't have DEA, you don't have the DNA, you don't have the PCA, because it was getting denied. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just sloppy stuff. And Sharon brings up a question. She's asked about the ID and the glove. That was something that Ashley Banfield had put out there, I think in January or February of 2023. And that was, her sources close to the investigation. And that's when we found out she was getting narratives pushed to her from particular people and also going off of Reddit for her sources close to the investigation. And we all thought that was true until the court hearings started to take place in the beginning, and that's when we found out that there was a glove and an ID, but it didn't have anything to do with the victims, and there was no tie to the victim when it came to that particular. It was kind of what was spun by Banfield. That's one of the things with this case. When it came to News Nation before Idaho 4 crime took place, News Nation was, to me, it seemed like you got more of the truth on News Nation than you did from CNN and NBC and all these other mainstream, and then all of a sudden when this Idaho 4 case happened and Banfield specifically started just running wild with all of the speculation and all of the stuff, and then we come to find out with these court hearings that a lot of it wasn't even true at all. And that's where mainstream was ruined for me as a whole, because when I sat there and I'm like, this is somebody's life, and you're worried about having the attention and having the views on a nightly basis and all that, just not even worried about what you're even saying about somebody else, because if it was her son, her brother, her dad, I don't think she'd be saying that stuff. So that was that turning point for me when I was like, I'm done with mainstream media. When are you done with mainstream or yeah? When did you get done with mainstream? Was it around this or?
Yeah, well, even before with COVID, when
the
COVID coverage was on, I was starting to look for different avenues of information. But hi, typically unique, I see her. I started looking for alternate avenues for Idaho 4, and like the ones that were like big chat rooms, like I couldn't keep up. Like you remember I called in for your show. So I started really getting irritated by because there's a difference. If you have video of this person, if you have video of me unaliving someone, and you have video of me doing it, okay? There's video. Okay, that's one thing. You know, he's presumed in. You know, I would be presumed innocent until proven guilty, but you have the video, so it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of hard to put your mind to that I'm innocent until proven guilty when there's a video of me and it's all over the place. But you still have to think there could be something wrong with me. We don't know. I could be innocent by reason of insanity or you know, other things. But when you have all these pieces of information that doesn't necessarily indicate it's Brian Koberger. Like, you know, it's the car. There's lots of cars like that.
We see it on my footage. There's 7 out of 10 vehicles are white vehicles.
Yeah, and so I started watching all of this, and then, you know, the Linda Lane footage came out, and I was just like, whoa. You know, I started getting into it because this crime was just awful. And the worse the crime, the worse the facts are in the crime, like the crime scene, the more I'm interested. I don't know why, but, you know, and so I was following this case and things weren't adding up.
Let me move us over here. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we started discussing it, was because when we started, you know, from the very beginning, when it took 3 days for a press conference for it, it was like, wow, this is crazy. These are 4 students. You think that law enforcement would have came out right away, you know, and then you start hearing, well, the 911 call was at this time and they didn't show up until this time, and all of these different, you know, as kind of, because we sat there and every time you'd watch a press conference, I remember we would watch every brand new press conference live when it was coming out back then, and I'm sitting there going, they're repeating the same thing as they said from the first one, and they're not telling anybody anything. And then I remember pointing out all the contradictions in what they were saying, because specifically with the, oh my gosh, it's like bringing back so many memories. I would sit there and watch the press conferences and sit there and go, okay, they're saying one thing when they're talking to people, and when they open it up for question, all of a sudden they're contradicting what they just said in the press conference every time. And how by the fourth one, I was sitting there telling my community these press conferences are a waste of time.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah, those videos, those lives that you had a long time ago, they were really telling. And you know, nowadays with all the cameras, like we talked about before, that, like, how could you not get this guy's license plate? I mean, they have cameras for traffic violations where they take a picture of you and your license plate. I mean, I don't understand. It's just very, very hard to understand. And it's very, very hard because there's videos of everybody everywhere at the grub truck. There's, you know, videos of these on Instagram or wherever their social media was. But Brian Koberger, I don't even think he had social media. Like, he's not at the grub truck. I don't see him anywhere. And the stalking narrative was false. And I still see people pushing that narrative. And it's like, he was not stalking them.
No, even the 12 times, you know, they talk about how much he was into the, you know, criminal, you know, the criminal studies. I can't remember the class. He was into the criminal studies, and it's like, okay, well, specifically with surveillance and technology, and, you know, stuff like that, the digital footprints. And it's like, okay, if he's, stalking them and was so prepared for it's like, okay, he wouldn't have went the route that he did. The 12 times that his phone pinged to the tower that 1122 utilizes, he wouldn't have brought his frickin' phone. He would have left his phone watching autoplay YouTube on his frickin' coffee table. And then when you know what I'm saying? Like, hello, if you're that aware, like, and then even the drive, not only how they're saying in Linda Lane, vroom, 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 but also doing the 3-point turn in the middle of King and Queen intersection. It's like all of this stuff.
You can't see anything. I mean,
You know?
I mean, it's like you could look at something for a long time and you'll start seeing figures. I mean, you'll start seeing some horrible things.
I mean,
and I don't know if it's real, but if somebody says, "Oh, look here, and you're looking at it and you're like, I don't see anything. It looks like an MRI image. I don't know.
Well,
and then all of a sudden, you start seeing things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. We were dealing with that in the Sebastian show this morning about how I was kind of, especially with Linda Lane for Idaho 4. You can see and hear a lot of stuff you want to see and hear.
It was intriguing.
But when you, yeah, and it is. But when I went out there and I was there for myself, a lot of those questions were answered. This sound is not traveling all the way over here. I'm walking and I'm driving in that parking lot for Linda Lane. Every time I was there, I maximized all of my time when I was there. Multiple times I went to these, all these different spots. I would have a routine going to all these different spots every single day. And you would hear so much activity inside that parking lot from all of the apartment windows that were open and people yelling and fighting and screaming and TV and dogs barking and people coming and going and this and that. And so it's you can literally, like, yes, there's some suspicious things, and we're going to be going back into it because a long time ago we did the deep dives on the grub truck in the beginning. We did the deep dives on the Linda Lane. And I never got to the combo deep dive that I was going to do to figure out the timeline of all these vehicles from the deep dive that we did before. So I'm going to be starting to do that soon. But you can literally watch that and see or whatever you want. Now there is something weird where there's somebody running from the in between the Queen Road apartments. There's that little teeny walkway that's right in between the two buildings, and there was somebody running out from that, running across the parking lot, and you didn't really see anything take place after that. So that was weird. There's a couple weird things, especially the noises, but
yeah, it was intriguing, but I don't know what to make of it. And plus, I can't see very well. I mean, like my mind will make up images if I look at it long enough.
Right.
And especially if somebody is pointing me to look at it, and then it's like, oh my God, I think I see Murphy.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, so I really don't know. I mean, I can't tell, but you would think it would be another thing if you saw Brian Koberger lurking at the grub truck, if you saw him there, or if you saw him somewhere else. I mean, he's not on any video.
Well, the crazy thing is in the very beginning, they were telling people this. You guys probably don't remember this. They were telling people in the very beginning that Brian Koberger hung out so much at the student common at the University of Idaho that people thought he was a student.
Yeah, well, where's the video?
Can you guys remember that in the very beginning?
Where's the video of that? They have cameras.
Yeah. They were telling people he was in the student common area so much the students thought he was a student of the University of Idaho.
Yeah, because like I'm open. I don't know if he did this or not, but it's looking like he didn't, because what we're hearing in that, what we heard in the hearing, we heard about Dylan's statement that it wasn't that reliable, and she was referencing a transcript of her statement. So it's like, okay, we've kind of figured that. And then we hear the blood that was on the handrail of the stairs of an unknown male, like, blood of an unknown male. So they had to have tested it to know that it was a male. What else did they do with it? I mean, that blood is better than the skin cells that were found on the knife sheath.
Mm-hmm. And we don't even know what handrail either. I'm so sorry to hear that. Typically, they eliminated
Oh,
his position. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to
oh.
hear that. What's up, Mishy girl? She's been there from the beginning too. Most of the kids were too drunk to recognize anyone. Yeah,
I
according to these
mean,
court.
and it was
It,
sad. It's sad because, they're just like college kids and they think, I don't know. It's just sad. And the person who is alleged to have done this has, I mean, I don't see any kind of a connection. I mean, and we did learn from the other video of the hearing that the reason why Ann Taylor stopped from saying there was no DNA in the car was because the judge was talking to her. Remember?
yeah, yeah,
I didn't know, when I didn't realize that until then. I thought, oh shoot, was there DNA found in the car? Because she stopped, and it was kind of weird. But
yeah.
she was
It
talking.
was, it was, but I don't know. They muted it out. Who knows what you know? But like in the beginning, when we went into the last episode and he first started off talking about the Frank's motion and all that, and you're like, wait a minute, like that was supposed to be talked about while it was already closed. Like this stuff that you're wanting to bring up, it was supposed to be in a closed hearing. This was for something else, and so who knows? I don't know. Maybe he's losing a little bit of focus or something. And I mean, hey, it's going to be good for the people, though.
Well,
If
I think he inherited this case. I don't think it was intentional, but I know Ann Taylor was like, wait a second, we're going to argue this, and there are facts that are sealed, so we're in a public hearing. So, and it's because the issues are complicated. So there's motions to suppress in addition to the Frank's motion to be heard on a Frank's hearing. So, it was confusing, and I don't think he did it intentionally. I don't think any judge would do that intentionally. I think he realized it, and now he's thinking, well, we have to make some of it public because it came out. Some of the stuff came out. It had to.
Yeah. This is speaking of footage, and when it comes to the photos or the sighting of his vehicle. As I'm playing this video, it kind of reminds me. I wanted to show you guys something very interesting. So, this is one of the spots that he was quote seen on his way to the crime. Okay, the A&W 76 gas station. Okay. Now, if you see where the pumps are at, you see all the way to the right of my screen, you see the windows, the 4 windows and the light that's right above the 4 windows. Right above that is where that camera is facing. Okay. The camera that got Koberger at this location. There's because of so what I want people to understand is there's only a quick shot, and I'm going to show it to you. There's only a quick shot it would have been able to get him on camera, the vehicle that is, and because you got the pump, the roof to the pump, and the bushes in the way of that view of the camera when it comes to the specific spot where the car was noticed. So I'm gonna let it play, and I'll show you exactly where the one spot that the camera would have picked up the vehicle. Now, this is a camera that's focused on the pumps. Okay, it's focused on the pumps. Where the video is taken is going to be the complete side of this camera view. And so everything else is blocking it when it comes to the roof, especially. And then right about there is where it would have got a photo of him before it continued to go down. When you're looking at all of the streets, when you're talking about Pullman, when you're watching the PCA route, how there's driving in downtown Pullman, there's driving in downtown Moscow before he even gets there, with all of those four-way streets, stoplights, well lit up, city cameras, you can go back to at any time and get a crystal clear photo. Probably even because it's a four-corner area, stoplights well lit, probably even see silhouettes in the vehicle in that photo, even at nighttime. So to rely on these little teeny, I just drove, this is part of the PCA route. I drove on Ridgewood. I showed you where Ridgewood was at. These different captures, when you had all of these other options, they don't make sense either.
No, it doesn't make sense.
So this is normally, what's up, Moto? What's up, Aaliyah? What's up, Mark and Betty? Normally I show you guys the nighttime. I figured I'd show you guys the daytime this time. A lot of vehicles all over the place. A lot of white vehicles. Look at all the white vehicles. Come on now. There's white vehicles everywhere. White, 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 white. And how tight it is and scrunched. White, white, white vehicle, white vehicle, white vehicle. And then right next
They're all
to
over the place.
all over. All over. 7 out of 10. I got so much footage of just driving through Moscow. Just driving through Moscow, driving around, going through the
I just don't understand. I cannot understand, you know, how he is not on video somewhere, like his face, his body, like somewhere, somewhere, and not in some weird amplification of some Linda Lane video where you see these faces and things and you don't know who they are, and I don't know.
shadowy figures, you know.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you think you see something and it's like, and then you're like, oh my God. I mean, it's crazy making. I can't look at that because you see certain things that I don't know, that look crazy, actually.
Yeah, and yeah.
That's the thing about Tommy, when he gets into that Tommy he gets into all this stuff and it's like, whoa, I gotta stop looking at that.
Yeah. Let me see here. How are we gonna do this?
Yeah, it's very cool that he was there and that he has that footage, because that footage at some point is going to be valuable.
It's like, who do we block? Oh, I know what I'll do. We'll try and go in the middle here. Let's see if this will work. Is this going to work? I think we might have to do this. They need to stick with one version, give us one version. Here, we'll do that. That should be good. There we go. Everybody can see everybody. It's actually better than the last one, because the other one, he was in the middle at the bottom.
Yeah, I picked out some of the timestamps, but maybe maybe they're not the timestamps that you all want to hear. So maybe you just want to play it through, because you know what I mean.
Well, let me see
It's up to you.
here. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I forgot how long each one was. Let's see. Payne was up first. And let me see. He was, let me see, an hour and 5. Hold on. And then Mari. Was about 30 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, what we'll do is we can, how about this? We'll start off with Payne. We'll start off with Payne. We'll see how long it goes. We could always, if it goes too long, we could always just keep this for Payne's testimony, and then we could do another one with Mowry. Or if we get through the Payne one and have enough time for Mowry, then we can still do both of them together. And then after we're done with both of their testimonies, then we can go to the key points of after that. Or if it goes too long, we could always just include that with the Maori one. Just in case we do have to do another one, what next night would you, or next day or night this week would you? Oh, you're on mute.
It would be, let's see, Tuesday.
Tuesday? What time on Tuesday?
5:30.
Okay. Your time? So...
Oh, wait, let me see. Wait. Let me see. Would Wednesday be better? Wednesday, actually.
Wednesday? Like same time as tonight? 5:30 your time?
Yeah, let me see. Wednesday is, hold on. Let me look real quick. Because I have some hearings. Let me see.
I need to get you and Andrew on the show together sometime. And
yeah, he's been doing some good shows.
Yeah.
Both Karen Reed and this case, they're very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I even thought about, you remember how I started off that members only a long time ago, where we were going to be doing the whole OJ stuff, that series that we were doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot that we were doing that too, just with all the searches and stuff. And I was like, man, I think it'd be cool to see if you and Andrew would like to do like a weekly show once a week or something, where we go through an episode or two with it, and just kind of do something special, like whatever day or evening or something that would work out. I know he gets tired real early, so.
Well, he needs to have early shows, yeah.
Yeah. So we could even do mornings or something, but yeah. Wednesday, is that a good day then?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, just let me know. And then if because with Payne's, I'm pretty sure it's gonna take us a little while, because I don't know, it's pretty wild. And then yeah, if it goes long, then we can do Maori, and then the finish up on whatever night works best for you. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this. Let me see here, make sure it's turned up. I'm gonna go ahead. Do you want closed captioning on, or should I leave it off? It'll kind of cover up his face.
Well, I don't know. If we need closed captioning, if the people want it, they can.
Let me know in chat. Just type in CC if you want closed captioning. Play it on here. Probably should have his face showing just in case, because might need to see his reaction too.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So we'll go ahead and get into this. This is from 124:25. in Payne will be hopping up, and you can already see in the background there's some people having fun, laughing and giggling.
Right?
Look at that. That he's cheesing crazy hard. Payne's even got a smirk. This guy right here's got a smirk. That lady's like, what? And that lady's got a smirk too.
Maybe it's because this is a part where she's like not got her exhibits together or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because it was, yeah, in the beginning, it was like, where are we not prepared here? Because it was even driving you nuts. I started losing focus in the beginning. Right
Yeah,
there,
it was.
right?
Yeah.
Started losing focus. What's up, Silker? Now referred to as Chuckles. I'm surprised Bill Thompson wasn't. All right. And then Judge is laughing too. Ann Taylor, Brian Koberger, not so much. Well, for being here, appreciate the order.
Oh, I am so sorry. I thought you said sorry.
Let's bring the public in.
Okay.
I appreciate the eagerness, though. All right, are we broadcasting, Sandra? All right, this is continued hearing in State v. Koberger, CR 0124316665. Defendant is again present with counsel, Ms. Taylor and Ms. Mack.
Oh, 1 second. I want to say thank you all for being here, and also contribution call out to Lady Tit for Tat. Thank you so much for becoming a member, and thank you for being a part of the community. And thanks for hanging out in the show earlier today too. Appreciate it.
Massoff, the state is present, represented by Mr. Thompson, Mr. Nye, Ms. Jennings. This morning's hearing will discuss the motions to suppress and any evidence related thereto, as well as we'll get into the argument on that. So with that, I understand the parties are prepared to proceed. The defense, do you have witnesses to call this morning?
We do, Your Honor. We have two.
All right, who's your first witness?
Corporal Brett Payne.
All right, let's get going with that then. If Corporal Payne would step forward. You were sworn yesterday, as I recall, but we'll go ahead and do it again just for formality's sake.
Good morning. Could you please state your name and spell your last for the record?
Brett Payne, last is spelled Payne.
And what's your title?
I'm the detective corporal for Moscow Police Department.
Can you tell the court, I know you testified yesterday, but it was a different hearing. And so just to lay a little bit of foundation, can you tell the court your background in law enforcement?
So I've been with Moscow Police Department for almost 7 years now. Prior to that, I was in the active duty military for 6. 3 of those were as a commissioned officer in the military police corps.
What is your role in this case?
I was assigned lead detective in this particular investigation.
And so as lead detective, can you explain from your perspective what that has meant that you have done?
Certainly. So it was my responsibility to basically view this investigation from a 30,000 foot view, if you will. Directly, it's the teams that were assigned to various tasks and then take it.
I gotta pause it. Why do you think he said 30,000 foot? What? What? 30,000 foot view. I don't understand that. I don't. What does that even? Is that like the highest mountain in Idaho? 30,000 feet? I don't understand.
This particular investigation.
Contribution call out. Mark and Betty. Oh, are you on mute? Best mods, best chat. Cheers, CJ. Thank you, Mark and Betty. Member for 8 months. I know it's longer than that.
Sounds like $30,000. I don't know why, but
it's like, is that the highest? I wonder if that's like the highest mountain in Idaho or something. I don't.
30,000.
Who comes up with that? Yeah, I had a 30,000 foot view. What?
A $30,000 foot view. That's
No,
not
30,000 foot view.
right. But I heard it in my mind. I heard it as a $30,000
dollars.
view. Like,
Why didn't you just say bird's eye?
yeah.
Isn't that what it's typically referred to as, a bird's eye view? The highest mountain in Idaho. I wonder if that's true. I bet it is. I bet it is. I bet it is. Listen to it. He's crazy.
Military police corps.
30,000
What is your
foot view.
role in this case?
I was assigned lead detective in this particular investigation.
And so, as lead detective, can you explain from your perspective what that has meant that you have done?
Certainly. So it was my responsibility to basically view this investigation from a 30,000 foot view, if you will. Directly, it's the teams that were assigned to various tasks, and then taking all that information, synthesize it, put it back out to our group, and then eventually consolidate it into an affidavit.
You know what I just
And
pictured?
In terms of that affidavit,
You know what I just pictured when he said that? Does anybody remember Chris Farley in the van down by the river character? Mark Foley, I think, or something. He would talk with his hands, and he'd be like this. He'd be like, this, we're going to do it over here. And we're going to take this, and we're going to do it over here. And this and this. And so to me, it's like, it seems like he's just, that's what I pictured was Chris Farley, like talking about this and putting his hand over here and grabbing this and putting it over here and doing it. Just, I don't know. I'm going to be cracking up tonight. I'm sorry to pause it.
That was funny.
yesterday
I'm sorry. Sorry.
there was some discussion and testimony about that and how it was created. Would you explain that?
Absolutely. So the information was brought to us via various teams and specialists in their particular areas. For instance, most of the cell phone stuff was covered by Special Agent Balance from the FBI. All that information was brought to the team, relayed back out at least twice a day. And then as that information was essentially synthesized, it was put into a running document, a living document that is now known as Exhibit A.
So when it was characterized,
And that's one thing that was weird to me, because I was like, okay, so that makes sense why Exhibit A, he said it's also known as Exhibit A. That kind of made sense. It was like, okay, Exhibit A now makes sense. It was always the weird wording on it. Brett Payne's affidavit, Exhibit A. And it's like, what? But it's the living document. Number one, that's crazy. I guess it would.
Well,
They got to
that's-
have a bunch of them.
well,
That's just
what I've heard. That's how these things work, I guess. You have a certain document. It's collective knowledge from the people involved in the investigation. But that collective knowledge on that PCA makes no sense to me.
it's the bottom of the barrel of all.
It's vague. It's vague. It says Idaho State Police called and said, okay, who? I mean, the Idaho State Police is not a person.
Yeah.
You have to have the who, what, when, where. Those are just the basic facts.
Yeah, it's like it's the one document that was already going to be released from the beginning, because it's not going to be. I don't even think they couldn't have used that.
There was another document. Yeah, there was another document that's under seal.
Yeah.
And I know Attorney Andrew Myers tried to get that document, and he was told no, it's sealed.
Yeah. Because I can't see them using Brett Payne's to get those warrants. It would have had to been another, like that would have been a version for probably any investigator to tap into, to take a look at.
Mm-hmm.
But there's higher ups with more clearance that you would need in order to have access to that final inside team type information.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's the lead, then you have to go back and think, well, if he's the lead, then wouldn't his document that he wrote be the one at the very top and not somebody that would be, way at the bottom? You would think that his document being the lead would be the one that is sealed right now instead of the other one being sealed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And then that one had the pasted map. It just was like a copy. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't. If I was a judge, I'd be looking at that like, what is this?
Well, it makes me think with how they don't recall and how they don't remember, and then you're looking at this and it makes me feel like there was somebody else that was the lead for the investigation because they don't know key details. They can't recall key details. The information, like the Exhibit A, that would be the one that's under seal if he really is the lead. There's so many, even Mowry, like he says he's the lead, and then Mowry comes up next and says, well, I guess you could call me the lead too. Okay, wait a minute. Now you have a co-lead. It to me, it's like there's somebody else above that had to have been leading them, and that document is the one that's sealed.
Possibly.
I don't. They claim to be the leads, but this whole time, even when the PCA came out and we started dissecting it, what other leads have operated this way?
I don't know. I just remember reading the PCA and saying there's a video of a suspect video.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean?
A city and a state that don't exist.
That's the wrong. That's the wrong place.
You got the wrong state. You got the wrong part of the street name. You got the wrong email.
Anyway, it was a mess.
Anyway, it is a mess.
Guys, yesterday is a group effort. Do you agree with that characterization of it?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know approximately how many warrants you worked on in this case?
I don't, ma'am. Several. I don't know the exact number.
I'm going to walk you through several segments of different warrants, and some of this may seem choppy, but I'm going to try to do you and then Detective Mowry at once instead of bringing you back and forth. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good.
All right. And Judge, I have paper exhibits for you and for the witness. And so I'll go as fast as I can, but I want you to be able to look at what he's looking at. So we're going to begin with the first AT&T warrant.
That's why this one took an hour.
Prior to this case, had you ever secured an AT&T warrant?
No, ma'am. I don't believe I had.
And so, given that, who did you rely on in creating the warrant?
Largely
AT&T?
Special Agent Balance. Obviously, he's the CAS expert, so I relied heavily on his input.
At the time that AT&T warrant 1 was secured, were you co-located with Special Agent Balance?
I believe so, yes.
Can you, well,
I believe so.
In terms of being more specific.
Sorry, go ahead.
He says, I believe so. Either you were or weren't.
Hold on.
Were you with him? Co-officing with him? Like in the same office?
Well, you would think. I mean, it's all, to me, it's like, oh, Balance was the guy that was telling him what to do. Hey, man, you gotta do this. Oh, okay. I guarantee you, he probably wasn't even shown how to do it. They're just like, hey, we need your signature for this so we can get this through. Okay. He probably didn't work with them that much. He probably just came in once in a while and was like, hey, I need your signature on this and you need to do this. Okay. Yes, sir. The errand boy. That's they were both errand boys, probably. Do this.
Special Agent Balance.
I believe so, yes.
I believe so.
Well, in terms of being more specific, it was December 23rd. Were you two co-located at that time?
I believe so, yes.
And I know co-located has been talked about in court a couple of times, but can you just explain what it means for you two to be co-located since he's from DC?
Certainly. Yeah, he was in the same building as I was, just mere feet away from the command post.
Mere feet.
Okay, so when you say mere feet away, were you guys in like a cubicle setting, or were you in offices with doors? What was this setting in terms of proximity to each other a few feet away?
Yeah, separate offices with doors, but in the same second floor of the Moscow Police Department.
Are you aware of Special Agent Balance in his work in doing self AT&T records, having any access to AT&T records without a warrant?
I am not aware of that, no.
Are you aware of him having any ability to review AT&T records through any portal without a warrant?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah, he is. You know damn well that dude was like, hey, man, I'm going to do this real quick. Okay, I'm going to look the other way. You know, how many times, you know, you go somewhere and they're like, hey, do as I say, not as I do. You know, like they made a saying for it. Do as I say, not as I do. Yes, I can guarantee he had to say, I mean, especially with when you hear what the defense is claiming about, you know, the roundabouts and how they you know, didn't follow procedures properly, because that's what she's a monster for. Come on, man. It happens all over. It happens all over. What do you think? Do you think he had to have Yolie?
Well, I think she's asking the question for a reason.
Just
are you aware? Are you aware that he's accessed, you know, AT&T records without a warrant? Because she wants to impeach later on that he did do that.
Yeah.
And whether or not Payne knew that Balance did that, whether or not he knew or not, Balance stepped into the shoes of local law enforcement, so he's bound if he did something wrong.
Yeah.
So I think she's going to go back and maybe establish that Agent Balance had a pattern or some kind of habit of looking into AT&T records. Otherwise, why would she ask, are you aware that he went into AT&T records without a warrant?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason for a question. I'm just not sure what it is, but I'm sure there's a reason. I'm just speculating as to what the reason is, but I have no idea.
Yeah, especially with when they get into the other parts about how they got warrants based off of activities that needed warrants, but they didn't use warrants to get it.
Yeah.
And because they were freaking out. It went to ISP, Orthram. Then FBI came and snagged it from them because they were having no luck finding anything, and they had already, you know, had went through everything that they could. They had to rely on the profiles at that point. And so it's almost like they were the errand boys, but when it comes to responsibility, they were the ones that had to answer for it. And I think these people knew that. They're like, you know, these guys don't know shit. We can sit here and do this. We can help them out. And they have to be the ones to answer for it, because we don't have to ever answer for anything if we don't want to. That's why a lot of people don't trust them anymore, you know.
They will have to answer, because if not, the evidence can't be used.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes down to it, the three letters don't have to answer nothing.
Right.
They don't have to answer nothing, and they don't. That, as far as they're concerned, they're like, hey, we helped them try and get them there.
It doesn't fall on it doesn't fall on them.
Right.
It falls on the Idaho State Police, because like, remember the last question in the last hearing where he said, are you arguing that the Idaho State is not bound by what the FBI does or something like that? And he said, no, he agreed that the state was bound by what the FBI does. So it is on the state. So the FBI steps into the shoes of the local law enforcement when they're helping.
Yep. And they have the availability and the opportunity to be able to do that stuff. And they also know that they don't have to answer for it if they don't want to. And people like the gentleman down in the bottom right will take the heat for it. And it's, these guys, I really feel like I feel like these two are going to be scapegoats if he gets off. Like the prosecution is going to be like, we had everything and we had it all slam dunk, and these two buffoons created a reasonable doubt,
I wish I knew more about the warrants part, but I mean, I think we're thinking about it in the right way. I think the lead detective, the lead detective isn't always going to have all the skills for, searching electronic devices, or, they have to delegate to some point. But when you don't know who you delegated it to, and you're being evasive about who, I think it was Mowry that was being evasive about who he delegated. I have no idea. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But anyway.
Well, and if you're sitting mere feet from this individual on a daily basis, you would think that you would know a lot more than, it's almost like, is it stupidity or plausible deniability? I don't know which it is. It's one or the other.
I keep imagining that little room, but I know they had the better setup. I mean, they had the bigger police department, but I keep imagining that little room that looked like a closet with all those computers, and that they're sitting like right there, right next to each other. Yeah. But I know they had a different setup. It's just that comes to mind.
Yeah, it's Moscow for you. All right, here we go. We'll get back to this. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. If you're not subbed to Yolie, please go do so. She's got a lot of great videos discussing each of these events that take place as well. These guys look bored. They look bored as hell.
I'm going to begin with what is known as State's Exhibit 1, attached to their objection to the motion to suppress AT&T warrant. And Judge, for today's purposes, what I'm doing is relying on the labels that are in the record as opposed to giving them new stickers.
This has been marked.
So does that make sense, using the labels on the documents instead of stickers? Was that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. This is where I get confused, because normally, like I said, you would have like your exhibits for every person you're going to question in a book.
Yeah.
And you would have them independently labeled. It could be labeled 1 through whatever, or it could be labeled according to how they're labeled when they're attached to the motion to suppress. Either way. But I don't know what they're talking about with the stickers. Maybe there was a sticker that was labeled in the motion, but now it's confusing. So the judge actually asked them to make a list of all the exhibits, and that exhibit list is out there now. I saw Truth and Transparency. I didn't discussing it, and it has a description of everything, all the exhibits. And then even the exhibits that the defense or that the prosecution objected to, that were put it into evidence so they can challenge it later. But yeah, they have a whole list of all these correspondence, all these things. And so what she should have had, in my opinion, is just a little more organized with the exhibits, because as we watch, the judge started calling out the exhibits for the record for the court reporter. And he was very kind to do that, because he wants to make sure there's a record of what they're talking about, as opposed to this sticker and that sticker. And it drives me insane, because I would have had exhibits in a binder what the guy in what does Silky say? The guy in the wrong.
Yeah, they keep these two guys right here. They're like passing out. They are, especially the guy in the blue coat. I keep seeing him like. It's true. Always thank you, Mark and Betty. And it's because we got great, guests like we do, that help bring more knowledge to the community. So thank you again, Yolie, for being up here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert in search warrants, but in terms of organization, that's how I would have done it. Because it's crazy because you have all these motions to suppress, and with the motions to suppress, there's exhibits. So you might have exhibit 1 to motion to suppress this, and then you might have another exhibit 1 to the motion to suppress the Google, another exhibit 1 to the motion to suppress the AT&T records. So it gets very, very complicated. And to me, this was like, I want to go in there and help them. I want to go in there and get all these exhibits and organize them and tab them and make 3 books, 1 for the witness, 1 for the judge, 1 for me.
Yeah.
And,
you have to multiple copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably why this one took 1 hour and 5 and Maury's took 30, is because of all of the junk that was taking place in it. And Danny D, no, we don't, that's the wrong channel. We don't fall asleep and snore while we're doing our shows.
Talking about the police.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. No, we can't hear the microphone feedback there, and then also, no, because there's shows out there where people like literally fall asleep on lives and. No lie, Yolie. No lie. There's people that discuss other cases, and they're like, they'll be like this. And people just sit there and be like, what the hell? Not here. We're always awake over here, and if we get tired, we just end the show. All right. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Previously as states S1, or is that 8-1?
Turn off my camera.
I think it's SS for state 1.
All right, states S1 affidavit for search warrant.
And now I've got to get.
Objection to the admission of that for today's hearing.
Judge, I should have started out by saying that the same stipulation regarding the admission of all exhibits applies today.
We do need the formality of moving for the admission, however. So
I can do that. Do you want me to do that per exhibit?
Well, it makes, as you're talking about them, it probably makes sense.
Okay, I've got to get myself S1.
You think that hurt them in this court hearing?
No, it happens. The judge is not concerned so much with that. He might get irritated, but it doesn't hurt the substance of it. Okay. It doesn't hurt the substance. It just kind of looks kind of strange. The judge might get irritated with you, might snap at you. I swear. Yeah, at some point, at some point during this, if I were the judge, I probably would have said, okay, look, you need to go back, get yourself in order, and not waste the time here. Go back, get your books. This is what I want, and we can have a smoother hearing. And right now, I can go do something else while you do that, and we'll reschedule it.
Especially with how busy they are.
Yeah, but he probably knows how busy they are. He probably knows that they lack resources, so he's helping move things along. I don't think it affected the substantive part of it, because there's going to be a transcript, and the judge is going to be able to look at what the testimony was, and he can skip all of that. Is this sticker the right one, or it just became Stickergate.
Right.
And then Katrina was on the last thing we did. Katrina was like, "Yay, there's a sticker on that one." Cheering for the defense. It becomes cumbersome, but no,
it does.
I mean, judges have brand new attorneys that are like, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and everybody starts from somewhere. You don't start off perfect as hell.
No. And especially with the amount of documents and stuff. And if if you're working for a public defender or if you're a plaintiff's firm or lack resources, things like that are going to happen. So, but he was kind. Well, we'll see. You'll see what he does.
Yeah, because they have a lot of limitations being public defenders too, with stuff. So.
Okay, Detective Payne, can you look at page 5?
Ma'am.
On page 5, can you read what it says in the at the very end of the page in the sentence above wherefore that begins with the paragraph? It begins in support. Can you read that paragraph?
Certainly. In support of the assertion as to the existence of probable cause, the following facts are offered based upon personal knowledge of affiant. See attached statement of Brett Payne, which is marked Exhibit A and incorporated as though fully set forth herein.
And is that S1 the affidavit in support of the search warrant?
Yes, it is.
And that's the AT&T 1 search warrant that was the first one served on December 23rd, correct?
That's correct.
And that language that you put in there, Exhibit A, is incorporated as though fully set forth herein. Is that the language you just read?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. I'm now going to hand you State's Exhibit 2 to the AT&T first warrant.
Typically is asking, is she getting him on record, Yolie?
She's making a record. Yeah. That she's getting him on the record so that there's the transcript will have his responses on the record. Yeah.
He looks pissed off.
Well, he's probably a little frustrated because, like I said, you would want to be a little bit more organized, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, and then like with how the courts are so backed up too, that's got to be frustrating too, because it's like, come on, we should have been done by this time. I got this isn't the only one he's residing over.
And in a perfect world, you would have everything lined up and organized but so he's probably a little irritated because he has other things to do. And this is a huge case. He doesn't want to make a mistake. And he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to act like a real asshole and tell him, look, you go out, get yourself in order, and then we'll set another hearing date when you're ready.
Right.
That would have been a real asshole.
Right.
But I mean, if he did that, it wouldn't surprise me. But he didn't do that.
I mean, I bet you he will in the future if it keeps happening, though. I could see him doing it,
Maybe, yeah. It depends. It would depend on his workload, too, because this is taking a lot of time, And if there's a jury, oh, my goodness, there's no way you're going to be, floundering around when there's a jury. Yeah.
Damn well Judge is sitting back in his chair going,
drinking a martini.
Yeah, with the palm tree next to him, like, I am so glad. I am so glad.
He did admit in his order that it was a lot for him. It was too much for the court. Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, that's why you look like you stop by Floyd's every time. You're just like, Just looking off up in the cracking a smile, just chilling back. Yeah, it
No,
had to be.
Judge Hippler is lit. He's good. And you know what? He looks irritated, probably because he might be, but it's okay.
I could see like I bet you John Judge. Oh, I always get it. Judge John Judge's life was literally nothing but going through those documents.
I don't know when he would have time. I mean, he's a small town judge. It's like,
No, when he went home, I bet
oh, when he
you.
went home. Oh,
Yeah, I bet you that's all he did for his life was literally look through the documents and look through the law and like, and then go to bed and then go to work and come home and you got to look through the, like, I bet you that was all he could do because it, I mean, especially with how long it took him to make decisions and stuff too. You're talking weeks sometimes where you're just like, where's
it
the
would just go
decision,
into a
dude?
black hole. It was like,
Yeah.
we're waiting. And then all of a sudden an order would come out and we're like, oh, forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Right. It's been so long. Yeah. So I'm sure it was, I'm sure after, you know, he was like, I can't wait. I, you know, especially with him, just like the law enforcement there, they were just used to traffic, noise complaints and underage drinkers and a bad call here and there. And the same thing with the judges too. You know, they probably just saw the minimal stuff, and then all of a sudden he gets this thrown on his lap, and he's like,
Can you review that first page, the first paragraph?
Of S2.
Pardon?
Are you seeking the admission of S2?
I am seeking the admission of S2. Just to be clear, Judge, all of these that I'm putting before him and the ones that are attached, we're seeking the admission of.
Objection to S2. All right, submitted.
Have you reviewed that, Detective Payne? Do you see that the language that I just referred to in the search warrant affidavit, do you see that same language in this warrant in where you incorporate the affidavit, incorporate Exhibit A into your, see that language in S2? And is S2 the actual search warrant for AT&T?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Can you turn to the last page on page 4? What time was the warrant served?
10:03 a.m.
Do you recall that the return on that warrant came in at 3:30 that day?
That would sound correct. I don't remember specifically.
Would it help if I showed you the AT&T mobility propriety front page to verify?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I'm not seeking the admission of this, just for purposes of him being able to be certain. Sorry.
The witness may be shown the document to refresh his recollection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Judge, for the record, this has also been admitted already in Frank's D17, page 634. Detective, can you see on that that came in at, I think it's 15:30? It's
15:31.
okay. Thank you. I'm now handing you Defense Exhibit A to the reply to the AT&T suppression motion.
doesn't have a sticker on it.
Pardon?
This does not appear to have a sticker on it.
No, it does not, but it is attached to the reply as Exhibit A, AT&T. And that reply is, okay. Can you see line 4 there? Oh, sorry, Judge.
Copy and put, let's just, do you have a number that we were going to call this?
I would call it Exhibit A to reply, because that's what it is in the record. You see at the bottom of the page where it says Exhibit A, AT&T?
So this is the return of the warrant of S2.
Yes.
All right, let's call it S2.2 or 2.1, pardon me.
That's fine.
The fact that it's associated with that particular warrant. Allowed to touch stickers under the union contract, so why don't you give it to the bailiff?
What did he say about the stickers and the union contract?
Detective Payne, on page,
I don't know anything about union stuff.
Did he say that?
That's what it sounded like to me.
Was he
I don't know
making
what
a
that
joke?
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
Union contract.
He said something about the stickers and the union contract.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Here, let me go back. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I thought he said that a little bit ago too.
see line 4 there. Oh, sorry, Judge.
Copy and put, let's just, do you have a number that we were going to call this?
I would call it Exhibit A to reply, because that's what it is in the record. You see at the bottom of the page where it says Exhibit A, AT&T?
So this is the return of the warrant of S2.
Yes.
All right, let's call it S2.2 or 2.1, pardon me.
That's fine.
The fact that it's associated with that particular warrant. Allowed to touch stickers under the union contract, so why don't you give it to the bailiff?
Detective Payne, on page 2 of that Exhibit A, it's actually just the front page where it says Affidavit of Brett Payne. What does paragraph 4 say?
Paragraph 4 or line 4?
Line 2. Line 4.
Says the warrant was served on 12/23/2022 by email, fax, etc.
So do you know exactly what method was used?
I don't remember.
Okay. And it says warrant in that line, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it say anything about the affidavit in support of search warrant accompanying the warrant?
No.
On the next page, the receipt and inventory of warrant, do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you look at description of property? What does that say?
It says 509-592-8458.
Can you explain how that's a description of property and what that means?
It just means essentially that there was the information retrieved as a result of that phone number being queried with AT&T.
And it indicates that that was produced how?
Entrance was obtained by email.
And when that was received, did you do anything to verify that the data was within the date ranges of November 12th to November 14th of 2022?
I don't remember. That information was provided to Special Agent Balance as soon as it was received.
You have, when you say that it was provided to Special Agent Balance, is that because you don't have the capacity, technical skills, I guess, to review that raw data and do something with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else that you relied on for that other than Special Agent Balance?
Not that memory brings to mind.
Let's now turn to the 18.
Is he getting nervous or something? Not that memory brings to mind. What?
No.
Does the chicken come before the egg?
Here's where I don't understand the significance of serving the warrant with the affidavit and all those technicalities. I don't understand it, but it does sound like he's getting a little like nervous.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. In healthcare, we have numbering systems for medical records, numbering for reviews, and numbering for court cases. We have classes on numbering systems. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's crazy.
TNT2,
I couldn't
pen
believe it.
trap and also known as pen trap and trace. Can you explain what a pen trap and trace is?
So pen register, best of my knowledge, now granted, I am, as I've stated before, I'm not an expert in cell phone stuff, but best of my knowledge, a pen register tracks incoming and outgoing phone calls, text messages, so on and so forth. And then the trap and trace is the portion that essentially gives you location data, or the precision location data rather. So it's essentially incoming and outgoing calls, what messages are received, and then part of that was where that phone was located.
Was it required that you secure the AT&T first warrant to obtain the second warrant that included a pen trap and trace?
I don't believe it was required.
So when the data was received on at 3:30, you gave that data was given to Special Agent Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then what happened in between 3:30 and 4:53 when the second warrant was secured?
Are you talking technically speaking, or can I speak in generalities? Because that's all I really know.
Well, I want you to talk about what you know.
So the only thing I know is that that information was provided to Special Agent Balance. He utilized whatever tools he has at his disposal, and then it was decided upon to go after the second pen trap and trace.
When did you start drafting that second trap and trace?
I don't remember.
So on that day, you did one in the morning that was secured at 10:03.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the second one was secured at 4:53 p.m. And you don't have a recollection of when you were working on those?
I don't remember. No.
See what I'm saying? That's got to be a bunch of crap. Sorry, my mouth's not moving when I'm talking. Oh, you're on mute, Yolie.
You know, I was typing here and I was typing pen trap and trace and I missed what he said.
All right, hold on.
Just
Hold on 1 second.
At his disposal, and then it was decided upon.
So he's talking about, again, how he gave everything to Special Agent Balance, and then they're talking about the second one, and she was like, so when he said he doesn't remember the second one, but then she repeats, well, you did this one in the morning and you did this one at 4 something in the afternoon. You don't remember that one? I don't remember. And it's like, yeah, you're just handing stuff off.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Getting it handed back to you, and then you need the final signature because you're the lead, but you're not part of the big boys club. You're the one that has to sit at the kids' table.
And look at Judge Hippler.
Yeah. Look at Judge. He's on the gummies. Look at the sparkly things.
When the data was received on
What's up, Daddy?
at 3:30, you gave that data was given to Special Agent Balance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then what happened in between 3:30 and 4:53 when the second warrant was secured?
Are you talking technically speaking, or can I speak in generalities? Because that's all I really know.
Well, I want you to talk about what you know.
So the only thing I know is that that information was provided to Special Agent Balance. He utilized whatever tools he has at his disposal.
Okay, so yeah, he's basically saying I'm handing it off to Special Agent Balance. He hands it back to me for the signature. Why would he say technically or generally? Because it seems like he doesn't know any technical answers, just general, right?
Yeah, because he's passing it off to Special Agent Balance because Balance has the expertise in looking at whatever it is they need to look at. That's why.
Boy. I tell you what, these people are crafty up there with how they're how they got they have all these fail-safe traps that they can literally shoot out the exit if a door's fallen on them. And they're crafty. I got to admit, they're crafty because they have so many scapegoats that it could be. You're talking about two of the witnesses and how they manipulated their witness statements. Two witnesses, Bethany and Dylan, can be scapegoats. Mowry and Payne can be scapegoats. Ashley Jennings can be a scapegoat for Bill Thompson. Oh my gosh, they're crafty, very crafty.
And then it was decided upon to go after the second pin, trap, and trace.
When did you start drafting that second trap and trace?
I don't remember.
So on that day, you did one in the morning that was secured at 10:03.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the second one was secured at 4:53 p.m. And you don't have a recollection of when you were working on those?
I don't remember, no.
All right. I think you have State's Exhibit 2 in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you flip back to that one? Can you see on page 1, what does it say that the time of that warrant was obtained?
Talking about State's Exhibit 2. Oh, 10:03 is what it says. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I'm referring to the return, which should be I might be referring you to the wrong exhibit.
0.1, I believe.
And that was at 4:53. The second warrant was obtained at 4:53. I might not have handed you pin trap.
I don't think I have that one.
Yeah, my understanding is, just so we're clear, because I'm getting a little confused, is that we have the affidavit for warrant, the warrant, and the return of the warrant all related to the first warrant to AT&T, and we haven't got the pin trap and trace warrant presented yet, I don't think.
Right, I've got it here. And Judge, for clarification purposes too, today as we're going through testimony, my plan was not to go through every single warrant that we're arguing about and get it in front of the court. I'm really trying to take kind of a scalpel approach on the issues that we want to point out to the court. So it does really feel like I'm jumping around, and I realize that. I hope to bring it all together in the end.
The only caveat being what I've told you before is where you have is a broad array of documentation that you've presented. The court will not scour the record to find support for your motions that's not pointed out to the court specifically. And that's well established with case law from the Idaho Supreme Court.
And Judge, that's why I am trying to grab the pieces and parts that I want you to be able to identify, and that's why I'm putting the paper in front of you. So I'm hearing you when you've asked us to do that.
This had to confuse Payne too while he's
All right, I'm
sitting there.
handing you State's Exhibit 1. And this is to the second AT&T warrant, also known as Payne Trap and Trace.
This one is also listed as S1 on the sticker. So that's going to cause some problem, I suppose.
It's S1 attached to a different motion to suppress.
Well, hopefully we can figure it out when we're looking at the entire record. But
Yeah. And what I think, Judge, when you are going back and working with your clerk.
my concern, frankly, I know what all the documents are and what they relate to.
Yeah.
My concern is a reviewing court's ability to understand what you're talking about in court today and trace it to a stack of documents. That's my concern for this. So.
And I understand that. And so in preparation for today, I mean, I really did think, do I need to go through and label all of these? And I thought that would create more confusion in the record because these are all attached to specific motions with these labels.
This is marked S1, titled Affidavit for Search Warrant and Application for an Order for Pin Register or a Trap and Trace Device.
Yes.
So on the record, what we're looking at.
So Detective Payne, is that the warrant that that affidavit in support of the search warrant that you drafted for that second AT&T warrant?
Let me check.
Yes, ma'am.
On page 11, at the bottom of the page, can you read that last sentence under probable cause?
Certainly. In support of the assertion as to the existence of probable cause, the following facts are offered based upon personal knowledge of the affiant. See attached statement of Brett Payne, which is marked Exhibit A and incorporated as though fully set forth herein.
All right, I am now handing you S2, which is the search warrant and order authorizing installation and or use of pin register trap and trace device and non-disclosure order pursuant to Idaho Code 18-6772. Can you please turn to page 7? Can you see what time that was obtained?
4:53 p.m.
Papers turning.
I'm now handing you what is titled Return of Search Warrant, Exhibit A to Trap and Trace.
Does that have a sticker on it?
Pardon?
Does that have a sticker on it?
No, it does not.
It's 2.2.
What'd you call that, Judge?
S-2.2.
S-2.2.
Further delineated by the title, which is related to the pen, trap, and trace.
He did call BK Brent one time, Mark and Betty. That's right.
On page, can you look at page 2? You see the top, who does it say it's the affidavit of?
Corporal Brett Payne.
Are you looking at Exhibit A, page 2?
Oh, correction. I see what you mean. Affidavit of Lawrence Mowry is what it says at the top.
Right, and then but is that actually your
It is. Yes, ma'am.
affidavit? Okay, so that was a mistake.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, what were you looking at?
So Mowry signed it, but it was supposed to be him. Is that why Mowry's kind of confused as to who's the lead?
No. What happened is on the title of the affidavit, it says the affidavit of Mowry, when in fact the actual text says I, Brett Payne, and it's signed by Brett Payne. So the title of this document is wrong.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
That's Ann Taylor's specialty, is going after procedures and policies.
Well, it would be a typo, a mistake, because clearly
There's a lot of
affidavit-
typos.
Yeah, the affidavit is a Brett Payne. It just has, it's embarrassing. It has the affidavit of Mowry on the top. So if somebody's really looking for an affidavit of Brett Payne, they might not find it because they're looking at the title and it says affidavit of Mowry.
Gummies for everyone. That's what it is. Everybody, gummy party.
On page 2, the top of it says affidavit of Lawrence Mowry.
Oh, gotcha.
It's the affidavit of Corporal Payne.
A heading problem there.
Gummies.
A heading problem there, he said. The heading of the document, which is kind of important.
It is, yeah.
Because if you're looking for, I mean, it is kind of important. It could screw things up if you're just looking at the title of the document and thinking it's correct. You think it's Mowry.
It's so bad, man. It's sad too, because this is for the victim's justice, and this is, oh my gosh, it's gonna look so, I don't know. I feel like it's just gonna be a shit show in trial. I just have a bad feeling.
I'm now handing you Exhibit C to the reply to Trap and Trace. It does not have a sticker, and it says AT&T Mobility Carrier Request Form.
This again relates to the trap and trace warrant.
It does.
Let's mark that S2.3. In the next day or so, if you would provide a formal identification list, if you will, of the exhibits that you'd stipulated to admission to yesterday, as I don't think we went through those individually, just so that there's
What's
a
up,
record
Ree?
of that.
We can do that. Might take us a couple days, but we can do that. Can you look at, are you looking at that Exhibit C, Detective? Was cell site location data requested for this warrant on this page?
Yes, ma'am.
And was a timing advance report requested on this page? I'll refer you to the last paragraph where it says remark special instructions.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you see any reference in this document indicating that the affidavit in support of search warrant was included with the warrant?
No, ma'am.
Okay, the next warrant I want to talk about is Apple.
Papers.
Prior to this case, had you ever prepared an Apple warrant?
I don't remember.
What was your training related to Apple warrants in December of 2022?
I had no official training at that time.
I'm handing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit A. It does have a sticker, and it's to the Apple motion. Can you state what that document is?
Appears to be a preservation request.
And who is it sent to?
Apple Corporate Legal Counsel.
And what's its date? What is it? What is the date on it?
December 21st.
Of 2022.
Correct.
And that letter was not sent by you, right?
No, I do not remember sending this. No.
Well, can you look at
That's not me.
Yeah, the top of it is Department of Justice, and the back page 2 is Special Agent in Charge Dennis Rice.
Correct.
How was the DeSales email account known at that date?
I don't remember.
How did you become aware of an Apple product in this case?
Memory serves, when the search warrant in Pennsylvania was executed, there was an iPad that was located in one of the shared living spaces in the home. And there was a receipt in his vehicle, in Mr. Koberger's vehicle, that was found for an iPad as well.
And during the home search, was the iPad seized?
It was not.
Why not?
It was in a shared living space.
Do you remember what day that the Apple account was created?
I don't remember. No, ma'am.
Does 2016 sound familiar with the?
Wait a minute. That's a piece of electronic equipment in an iPad shared living space. I know that it was they each had their own room, and then they shared a kitchen and all that other stuff. How?
Well,
I'm surprised they wouldn't have taken it.
no, they wouldn't, because they don't know whose it is. it's in a shared space. It could be one of the sisters or the mother or.
Don't you think that they would talk to somebody?
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be talking to them at that point when they're searching the home. I don't think they're probably all freaked out. So
There was nobody there.
yeah, they wouldn't take that because it's in a shared area, so they don't know who it belongs to.
Was there even another?
This is at the house in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this is in Pennsylvania, not his apartment.
So you don't think that, what if that iPad, I mean, I would think that they would ask somebody. So
No.
what, I mean, what if that iPad held key searches on Google or key searches on another web browser that was meant to not have any kind of connection? I don't know. It just seems odd to me. Electronic device. You hear of family members' electronic devices getting taken in other cases. So this is somebody else's. Okay.
Well, no, they don't know whose it is because it's in a shared space. It's not. It could
It's somebody
be
that lives there. It's
right.
the sister, the mom, the dad, or
Yeah, but
Koberger.
they're not. They're doing a search for Brian Koberger's property, wherever his room is or whatever. So they're not
Dang.
gonna. Yeah, they're not gonna. And plus, if there was a Google
That's
account,
messed up.
yeah, if there was a Google account, they could see it electronically. They wouldn't necessarily need.
Yeah, that's why I said if there's another browser that they're using, so there's no connection. Like that'd be crazy if you're no, this is at his parents' house. So it's either his sister, because his sister was there, his mom and his dad.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be crazy if you're like using your sister's tablet to look up on Firefox or some other browser. I mean, hell, even a browser that is encrypted.
Yeah, they can't assume that though.
That's crazy. So then nobody can answer to whose that tablet is, and that could be the key that has the missing puzzle on the weird ass searches on how to bury a body or how to commit this crime. I mean, that's just crazy to me.
Well, no, they're not going to take it. They might have taken it after everything's settled. They might have, once, but not at the time of the search. They can only search what's related to Brian, and if it's in a common area, they're probably not going to touch it.
I figured they'd be able to take it and then return it if it doesn't, have anything to the case. Okay, I just was curious about that.
Research.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Yep.
That's crazy. So,
and do you mentioned?
So there you go. Criminals do shit on your sister's tablet.
The receipt that was found in his car. Do you recall the date that indicated that an Apple product was purchased?
I do not remember.
Great. I will show you State's Exhibit 1. To the affidavit for search warrant. And I believe it's tabbed, the receipt.
This is State's Exhibit S1, affidavit for search warrant to Apple Inc.
And it's 2018, the date.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the form to prepare the Apple warrant?
The form? Be more specific?
Correct. That, well, the search, so you're looking at the search warrant affidavit, and inside of that affidavit is a long list of items that you request.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get that information to be able to include that?
That was all provided to me from the experts in that particular field.
And here's a link for those exhibits if you want them. Thank you, Angels. Appreciate it. There's that link if you guys want it. Those are for the exhibits, and we can go into those in the future if need be. Pam says, wait for it.
I'm just getting S1 in front of myself for a minute here, Judge, so I don't, or I'm going to have to give them a different exhibit.
Just so I'm clear, those when you said the long list, are you referring to paragraph B on page 2?
On page 2, beginning on page 2,
Is that what you're referring to?
I'm referring to everything A through I.
I'm sorry, was there a question pending? I kind of threw us down a side alley there, so I apologize if there was a question pending that I threw you off from.
No, that's fine. I'm looking for the page. Here.
Payne is just he's pretending to look through the first page. He just said that. He's like,
Do you recall that in your affidavit, there's reference that iOS devices can use an iCloud account to back up the iOS device?
Yes, ma'am. That sounds familiar.
And what is it? What's your understanding when an iOS device uses an iCloud to back it up?
Similar to Google and many other of these digital operating systems, essentially they back it up to a cloud account. That information is stored not on your device only, but also in a cloud storage area. That's my understanding of it.
And so in an Apple phone, that ends up as creating a duplication of what's on the phone?
Essentially, yes.
And do you recall that in the affidavit, you made reference to the fact that Apple users get 5 gigabytes typically of storage and then can purchase more?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm handing you what's been marked as Exhibit D to, it's Defendant's Exhibit D to the Apple memorandum in support of suppression, and it is a, it does have a sticker.
All right, it's marked Defendant's Exhibit D, date 11/14/24, entitled Affidavit for Search Warrant, directed to Apple Inc.
Can you please turn to page 27?
The actual warrant itself that you're.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it's I don't want to answer that as a yes before I look and make sure what this exhibit is.
I want to make sure because my page numbers run out at 25.
It's Exhibit A, and it's to the Apple warrant. It says, so Exhibit D, Apple, at the bottom that page says page 27, but above that it says page 23.
I'm there.
Okay. At the top, it says on January 27th, Apple Inc.'s Privacy and Law Enforcement Compliance Office responded with the requested records.
I'm not there. So can
Oh, I'm
use the
sorry.
direction? Are we looking at state
Exhibit D.
D?
Yeah, page 27 of my marking bait. So it says Exhibit D Apple page 27.
On January 27, 2023.
Yes.
All right. Go
Yes.
ahead.
On January 27th, 2023, Apple Inc.'s Privacy and Law Enforcement Compliance Office responded with the requested records. Can you explain what Apple responded to?
I don't remember what all they responded to. They responded to the search warrant and all those listed items that were in the warrant itself.
And the warrant, the date on this, if you will turn to, let's see. Turn to page 34 of the exhibit. Do you see the date of the warrant?
1st of August.
So I understand that you just said you don't know or you don't remember, but in this context, in your search warrant affidavit, you make reference to something being produced on January 27th to process to get a warrant on August 1st. Do you know what the process was that Apple responded to or what they produced?
I do not remember. No, ma'am.
I am handing you Defendant's Exhibit B to the Apple Defendant's Memorandum in Support. It does have a sticker on it.
Sticker paper,
Right,
sticker
the
paper.
Exhibit, just for the record, is Defendant's Exhibit B, date 11/14/24 on the sticker, and the title is Certification of Apple Inc. Custodian of Records.
Detective Payne, on this, there's a certification. This document is a certification of Apple Inc. Custodian of Records. Do you see that?
Yep.
And it indicates that records are certified and being produced from legal process served on to Apple on January 12th, 2023.
Ma'am.
You see that? What was served as legal process on Apple on January 12th, 2023?
I don't remember.
You know what the legal process would be?
I don't remember what that would have been.
Going back to Exhibit D. Do you have that one in front of you still?
Yes, ma'am.
You turn to page.
Leah brings up a great point, because when I was listening to these court hearings, I thought the same thing as what Aaliyah just wrote. So it's just acceptable to the judge to say, I don't remember.
Well, so she was asking him about, I thought, was whether or not he remembered what was returned in the search warrant. What the provider, I think it was Apple or whatever, what they returned, like what they got back. He doesn't remember, but I think she has what was produced by the return on the search warrant. So she could say, would this help refresh your recollection as to what was produced?
Yeah.
But what I think is more problematic, in my opinion, is that he doesn't know what the process would have been. When she asked them, do you know what the legal process would have been or how it would have been done? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And look, I don't remember. It's an acceptable answer if you don't remember. And the next question would be, well, do you have any documents or anything that would help refresh?
Well, doesn't he? Doesn't he? Because the document he has in front of his face.
Well, I'm not sure. This is where I don't know how the search warrants are done, or how, like, I have no experience in search warrants. So when they're talking about search warrants in general, I don't know what he has in front of his face. I don't know if he has the return in front of him, but it's just, I mean, the more problematic one is, I don't know.
I would think he does, because when she's going through all these different papers and she gets to one paper, okay, so this and this and this, and it's like earlier when he was first up there and she was asking about the what was that? The switch. What was that?
Pen trap tracing?
Yeah. When she was talking about the 2 that he did in one day, he had that. All right, so you see right there, like at 10:30 in the morning that you did this. Yes, I do. Okay, so you don't remember when you did the next one? I don't remember. Okay, well, I'm showing right here it's 4 something in the afternoon is when you did this. It's like he does have that information right in front of him, and it's like he is just pretending to look through it because he doesn't even know. He's not even following her. And I think with all the, I'm wondering if could this have been done on purpose, where the defense was doing this on purpose with the documents to get him so confused that he doesn't know where he's looking to find the answer that she's asking him that's documented?
Yeah, I don't know. But to me, the more important question was what the process would have been. He says, I don't know what the process would have been. So he was actively working on this case. He should know what the process is. I mean, presumably, even if he wasn't trained, he would have learned by now what the process is. And if he didn't know what the process is, then what the hell is he doing as lead detective and handing it off to somebody else?
Yeah.
So he should at least have a general understanding of what the process is. He may not know how to access the information because he's not a tech guy, but in terms of the process of how these things are done, it's a search warrant. It's a search warrant for something, So this is where I'm weak at. I don't know the search warrants, and I don't know how they're presented to him, and it's very vague. But you're not going to be able to recall everything. You might, and that's if you don't recall, that's fine. You let the attorney refresh your recollection with documents, or you ask, are there any documents that might help refresh your recollection? But it can be used as a tactic. I don't remember. And it's used as a tactic because later on, if there's something that comes up, he can't be impeached because he didn't remember. So sometimes it is used as a tactic.
So he's just trying to avoid saying anything that might incriminate him. So I don't remember is a way they force the lawyer to direct them to what they want. Say nothing that might trip you up.
Well, I don't know that that's happening here, but I know that that's one of the things that people do to avoid being impeached. If something impeached is when they get you saying when
Yeah.
they catch you lying,
Under oath, yeah.
you know. So if you say you don't remember, you know, you can't be impeached because if something comes out, you didn't remember.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, I
so
recall now. I didn't recall when I was first asked, but I
yeah.
do now.
Or he may not ever recall. He might, something might come up. He might say, I don't remember. I still don't remember.
I don't know.
You know, I don't know, but it's hard for me because this is search warrants and I don't know anything about search warrants.
Well, I mean, but we do have common sense, and we're watching this. It just looks like somebody not prepared, and he should. If you're the lead, you know, you have all these qualifications and accolades that you brag about. You're qualified, but when you're being asked simple questions that any lead would remember and know off the tip of their tongue, they don't have to refer to a document to remember that. It's just concerning, you know. It really is. I don't know. I wonder why they didn't ask Payne any questions, the prosecution. They did Mowry, but I wonder why they just let Payne go after that. I don't know. Don't you? I would have think they would have gave him some softballs to make
I
him
don't
look
know. I
a
mean,
little better after what was taking place here.
I have no idea why they wouldn't have asked him questions. I don't know.
They do deserve better. All right, we'll get back to I don't remember Payne.
35 of that.
I don't remember.
On line 4, what does it say?
Warrant was served by Corporal Payne on August 1st, 2023 via law enforcement at apple.com.
And so that would have been the Apple warrant, right?
Correct.
And you served it, right?
I believe so.
Well, when you say you believe so, would you have executed an affidavit if you hadn't?
No, ma'am. I just wanted to make sure on the warrant return itself that it wasn't served by one of the digital forensics folks.
This affidavit is your affidavit, and on line 4 it says you served it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you serve that with a copy of the search warrant affidavit?
No, ma'am.
See, I don't know what the significance is of that they served it without the affidavit. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I just assume that it's a part of the paperwork that would be required to be able to, you know, you need the probable cause, the reason for doing it, and then
But if if the search warrant is signed by the judge, I don't know if the provider that the search warrant is being produced to has to get the affidavit as well. So I have no idea. These are procedural things. I have no idea. But she's asking about it, so obviously there might be something to it.
Yeah. Like I would think, like, you know, you could have a signature that you purchased the gun, but you need the certificate to show you're allowed to carry it. So I wonder, I'm gonna have to look up some videos to see if there's some experts discussing this whole search warrant stuff.
Yeah.
You know, just to kind of have a better idea, especially in Philly, Washington, and Idaho. I'm sure I can try and find something. And then I can include it on the I can include it on the next show too.
Mhm.
That we do. Try and get some of that together. Because they do
Was
talk.
it your practice in serving all?
Because they do talk a lot after Maori is done too, and I think it's very beneficial to the discussion also with a lot of the stuff that Ann was saying specifically at the end of the hearing.
Mhm.
All of these warrants that where you actually did service, that you would serve the warrant only.
Yes, ma'am.
And then on Exhibit D, page 37.
Okay.
At the bottom where it says description of property, can you explain what the return was for that Apple warrant?
All account information associated data for the following Apple identifiers, and it goes through DSID, Apple ID, B. Coburger at spartan.northampton.edu, another DSID, and Apple ID, Wi-Fi Army owns at yahoo.com.
Did you open up the Apple data and examine that?
I don't remember if I looked at what the return, like all the files that were attached were.
In terms of evaluating that Apple data, as the lead investigator, who have you put in charge of evaluating Apple data?
I relied on the specialists in those fields, which would be Detective Mowry and then S.A. Balance. Those are the folks who knew far more about it than me.
And do you know, as we sit here today, whose job it is to evaluate the Apple data for this case?
I don't know, ma'am. Not right now.
Right, Amy? Because he's looking off the piece of
warrant we will
paper.
talk about is Google. I'm handing you what's being marked as Defendants D to the Google memorandum in support of suppression.
Right, so that I'm clear and the record's clear, this is Defendant's Exhibit Number D with the date on the sticker of 11/14/24, which refers to the sticker date, I believe, not necessarily the document date. And then it's entitled Return of Search Warrant, the warrant being with respect to the application of search warrant for Google LLC. That as the other documents that were proffered are admitted.
Did you prepare the Google warrant returns Exhibit D?
Yes, ma'am.
On page 2 of that exhibit, does your affidavit say Detective Mowry served the warrant through a portal?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know that?
Told me that.
When did you get the return? When you got the return, did you review the data?
I did not, ma'am.
Did you take any steps to see if the return conformed to the warrant?
I did not look at the technical data it contained within. I believe it was a zip file that was downloaded from Google, if memory serves me correctly. I downloaded it and made sure that that was there.
And do you recall that there were actually 3 Google warrants? Does that sound familiar? I'm going to hand you now Defendant's Exhibit E. The Defendant's Exhibit E to Google memorandum in support of motion to suppress.
All right, defendant's exhibit number E, again with the date on the sticker 11/14/24. This is a receipt and inventory of warrant to Google.
On this document under the description of property, can you state what Google account you put in as received?
Zip files for all digital records for the Google accounts of Brian Christopher at gmail.com and username spelled a bit different at gmail.com.
Did you know that the email in the warrant is actually Brian Christopher 1994 at gmail.com?
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So on that description, is that a mistake?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you do anything to, I asked you this, but you didn't do anything to verify that the data that you received from Google fit what was requested in the warrant?
Oh, ma'am, not to my recollection.
That's it for Google. You were in Pennsylvania
Amy.
for Mr. Koberger's arrest, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you watched the preparation for service of the arrest warrant?
How do you mean?
Well, maybe I should ask this more open-ended. Tell us about your arrival in Pennsylvania in time-wise to his arrest, time frame of his arrest.
I believe we arrived there, if memory serves, about 7 p.m. on the 29th. And I think I get my dates right here. We observed final preparations for the SRT operation that was going to take place. And then we being myself and Detective Gilbertson from ISP, drove to a separate Pennsylvania State Police barracks to await the arrival of Mr. Koberger.
When you were observing preparations, what were you observing?
I believe we observed their final tactical brief for SRT. And that was about it.
Can you explain what that was like, what the preparations were that they were making when they were doing that tactical brief?
I can give you a general overview, as best I got.
General.
So they had their entire SRT that was going to be conducting the operation present.
For the record, SRT is
A special response team, usually what it stands for, Your Honor. So they were doing their final preparations, going over their approach, team member assignments, so on and so forth. This was all done via basically a briefing in front of everybody.
And do you recall that the preparations included that in preparation they were going to knock and announce in execution
I believe that was brought up. Yes, ma'am.
of the warrant? Okay. And while you were there, did you go into and have were you given a tour, or did you drive into the gated community of Mr. Koberger and see where he was living?
No, ma'am.
You never went in or around his home?
No, ma'am.
Wow.
When the execution of the arrest was happening, did you have the ability to listen in any way?
The only ability that we had at the time was a very choppy drone feed. We were driving at the time it happened, and that was the only communication we had.
And so how is that choppy drone feed being communicated to you?
Via cell phone.
So can you explain that? Like, who's the person communicating with you about the drone? I just don't understand.
So essentially, it's a drone operator with their SRT. I don't remember how it was conveyed, a link of some sort. They dropped a drone, it took off. I got the link so we could essentially just watch a live feed of what the drone was seeing. And that was it.
Do you know if that live feed was recorded?
I do not know, ma'am.
Did you record the while that was happening? Did you create a recording?
Oh, ma'am.
Can you imagine there was no body cam that we know of inside when this was going down? Drone footage. I can't imagine if something bad would have happened. They didn't even see his house before they did this. It had to be from drone. But he didn't even see the house from drone. He'd never seen it. So if he's watching the drone's not going to be flying inside the house. The drone's going to be outside, bird's eye view. 30,000 feet. Not quite that high, but you get the joke. Like, that's all they would have had. And they don't even know if it was recorded. And when do you go in without body cam? Because you want to protect yourself more
Well,
than
they said that the Pennsylvania police, and I don't know if it was Idaho or local, that they weren't using body cams at the time, but still the FBI, and I mean, you still would think that the FBI would have body cams.
I mean,
They're watching video through a
you
drone.
would-
So that drone is,
and it's choppy.
I don't know,
And why were they driving, right? Why weren't they parked outside the gate?
because they were just getting there, I guess.
I mean, but you would think, like, you're going in there, you're busting in somebody's house. You don't know if they're going to, and you're walking into something, and you don't. Like, I would be like, I ain't going in there unless I got my body cam on. You're out of your mind. Because I don't want to get blamed for something I didn't frickin' do, or they say, like, that's my protection. That's my truth. You're out of your mind. I ain't going in there without a body cam. Someone had to. And it's probably, Yoli's right. It's probably the FBI, and they don't have to show nothing. They don't have to show nothing. It's sealed. You're not allowed. Okay.
Very strange.
Basically. Yeah, it's just crazy. You're driving and you're watching it from a link. Yeah, just very odd.
What is a Bearcat?
Bearcat's an armored vehicle used in SWAT operations.
Oh my God.
And
SRT.
do you know what role the Bearcat? Describe that vehicle again.
So they're usually built on, I think it's like a Ford F-250 chassis. So it's a pickup cab essentially, but it's got a large box compartment in the back, for lack of a better term. Usually has portholes on the sides. It's highly up armored to protect the occupants, being SWAT operators. And they usually use them as an approach vehicle. So they have a covered location to deploy from.
Is it a
And that's sad, Pam, because that's basic. That should be basic freaking equipment. Just like a taser, you should have that should be basic freaking equipment. And how it's 2025. This is I don't know. It's crazy. It's just crazy to me. Yeah, I know. We heard from the beginning there wasn't any body cam. They didn't. Pennsylvania anyway didn't have body cam, and we're like, what? You're going in the house with that, and you're not even. If something did go wrong, it should be documented either side. So it's crazy, Pam. That's crazy to me that it's 2025 and there's officers out there that don't have body cam available. Prayers to them, because I'm sure there's a lot of them that really wish they did, and that's sad. That's sad.
a retrofitted military
No,
piece
ma'am.
of machinery?
No, ma'am.
It's specifically a law enforcement piece of machinery.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounds like it's really big.
It depends on what you're comparing it to. I'd say it's no bigger than, if you were to have a pickup camper on the back of an F-250, something like that.
And what's your understanding of where that Bearcat was parked for the arrest?
I believe the Bearcat, if memory serves, drove up the driveway and just parked in front of the house.
I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 5 to the motion to suppress, and it was attached to 119 Lambsden.
All right, this is marked with an exhibit sticker S5. Title of the document is Pennsylvania State Police. Heading with essentially a letter directed to Detective Payne.
Detective Payne, can you explain what that letter is?
That's a justification for reasoning for amending the original plan for knock and announce to a hasty knock and announce and quicker entry into the Koberger home.
When did you receive that?
I believe this was recently. I don't remember what date.
When you say recently, was it received in response to prepare for today's suppression hearing?
I believe so.
Do you know why?
So I'm going to go ahead and pause it because I know you brought that up in the beginning.
Yep. They're sending him a letter for this hearing.
Yeah.
That says that they changed the warrant to a hasty knock warrant to enter the house in a more expeditious manner. Okay, so they're sending this letter now, like in preparation for this hearing. I mean,
right.
What? And the letter's not dated?
For a reason, on purpose.
This to me is just, I've always had a problem with how they've arrested this man. Always.
Yeah.
I mean, all the search warrants and everything else, they're too technical for me, but always had a problem with how they arrested him and how other people were in the home and how they just busted in there, breaking windows. I mean, they didn't have, I don't know what a hasty no-knock or hasty knock warrant is, but certainly you don't have to destroy property to get in there and get him, especially if he was jogging around the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Going
get
to the
it.
gas stations, getting coffee. You already know he likes coffee. He went and got some after, the next day after the crime took place. He went and got coffee. He likes coffee, so I'm sure he got coffee too. Went and got gas, got a honey bun, and left some DNA on the wrapper in the garbage can. Had to have went by a Hardee's,
This is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
This is the part that drives me crazy. Like, I don't know.
And
well, on the next one, you'll see what the judge says. He says something strange, but that'll be for Maury.
Yes. We're Wednesday then? Is that what? Okay. Yeah, we'll be back talking about this again on Wednesday. We're gonna do Maury. We're gonna go through the back and forth there at the end of the court hearing, and then we'll discuss some more stuff on the search warrants for that episode.
Mr. Lang didn't date the letter.
Have to ask him, ma'am.
Gotta ask him.
And so in that correspondence, he explains that the knock and announce was shortened to announcing from the Bearcat with immediate forced entry.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you present when Detective Gilbert Mirandized Mr. Koberger at the station?
Gilbertson?
Gilbertson, sorry, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And that took place after Mr. Koberger was first seized in his home, right?
Correct.
That also took place after he was transported in the back of a police car to the station, right? You noted in your report that Detective Gilbertson had a recorder in his pocket at the time of the interview.
I believe so.
Were there any recordings that took place at the Koberger home when entry was made into the house?
I do not know.
Where was Mr. Koberger's car parked at the time of his arrest?
It was in the garage.
Was it later seized pursuant to a search warrant from that garage?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you said that the iPad receipt was found in the car, is that the car that you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
That is all the questions that I have for you. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
We have just a moment, Your Honor.
Two answers at the same time. It really makes you wonder what trial is going to look like when trial actually happens, and we're getting close now. Just a few months, and it will be
The
trial
state doesn't have
time.
any clarifications for this witness.
All right, thank you, Detective. You can step down. Actually, can I, if you don't mind, I actually have a question.
Of course.
You testified that you didn't send the affidavits and support search warrants with the warrants themselves to Google, Apple, etc. The persons that processed the evidence received, would they have knowledge of and access to the affidavit?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Questions follow up to that?
I do.
So they had access to the link of the living document that they could also alter?
No, he's saying that when the search warrant returned, like the items came back in digital form or whatever, that the person who was going to look through the materials had access to the affidavit.
Yeah, the living document.
Well, no, the document has already been, like, there's already an affidavit for the search warrant. So the PCA, I think, for the arrest was a living document.
Mm-hmm.
So each one of these officers had an affidavit, or it was Payne, or I don't know who, for each search warrant. So what the judge is asking is if when the provider of AT&T or Apple or whatever gave the information that was requested, if the person who received it, the officer who received it, if they had a copy of the affidavit. I don't understand it, but that it's important apparently.
He said that everyone had access to it. It wasn't included
When
with
it
the
was
paperwork. So then they would have to have it through a link or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's confusing. Very confusing.
How would people that are getting an email through a portal, Apple, Google, AT&T, how would they have access to the affidavit?
The question was the people that received the evidence, not the people who sent it. So in other words, the police and team that reviewed the evidence, did they have access to it? Not, that wasn't my
Okay,
question.
I didn't hear you. You do
Just to
have
clarify.
you do have a soft voice, and I am losing my hearing. But I so then based on that, how would those folks get access to the affidavit in support of the search warrant when they're reviewing materials.
Just so I'm understanding you, those folks, meaning the people who work for these companies, is that who you're referring to?
No, I think that's not what the judge was
Correct. I
asking.
understand.
He was asking that once that evidence is returned and you log it, his question was, do they have access to the affidavit in support of search warrant?
Right.
And your answer to him was yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
How?
There were paper copies of it. It was no secret.
Paper copies, no secret.
It was shared freely amongst the investigative team.
Okay. But not each person reviewing, various people are reviewing these, the electronic data for the some 67 devices and third-party warrant returns, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And in terms of my question earlier, which was who I was asking about Apple, who's reviewing that data? Your answer was, I don't know, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you don't know who's reviewing something, how would you know that they have access to a search warrant affidavit?
Well, that's the beauty of having a collaborative team effort. If you share the information freely, it's not independent upon myself to provide that to them. Everybody has that information to reference.
So is in the database that you're creating with this collective, I'll stop this, break this down. My understanding is that the collective document is Exhibit A, correct?
Correct.
And then when you attach Exhibit A to a warrant with Exhibit A to a affidavit in support of a search warrant, you also add additional language depending on who that warrant is for, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So there are over 100 different search warrant affidavits in this case. And it's your testimony that everybody who would have access to doing review of data has access to go in and look at what exact search warrant affidavit was executed?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Follow up from the state on that. All right, thank you, Detective.
Judge, I think we don't need to step away, but I do need a break to organize my.
He's like, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Oh.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
It is. It makes you wonder what really it's going to be like at trial. But yeah, I'll look up some more stuff when it comes to the search warrants for each state and stuff like that, and see if I can find some kind of like expert.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I tried one time, but it's very complicated.
Yeah.
I'm not sure like what the significance is with regards to who has access to the affidavit and how it's served. And honestly, these statutes are just like, they're so hard to understand. I don't know if it would be worth it, but something's up with that. I mean, they wouldn't be asking these questions if there wasn't something up with that.
Yeah. It and then it, that's why I was like, with some of the questions they were asking and with the I don't remember and I don't recall, kind of like what Aaliyah brought up earlier, I would expect somebody to pressure like, well, don't waste the court's time here by extent, I don't know, I don't recall. Do you or not? I don't know. Maybe it's just
Well, it's
tactics too,
it could be tactics, but in some instances they're not going to recall. They have to look at something. And like when he said he was talking to the Google representative and she shows the email and says, does this refresh your recollection? Who is this? And oh, that's a legal representative that I was talking to at Google. So, I mean, sometimes it is a tactic. Sometimes it's just that they don't remember. They need to look at a document, but they're just answering the questions as asked. And if they ask, do you remember this, such and such? No. do you have any documents that will help you refresh your recollection? Yes. What are they? And it's sort of like that. That's how it goes. But the ones that concern me more is the I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The I don't know. I don't know what that process would have been. Okay, well,
You know, this just creeped me out a second. Look at this. This was a year from when the crime took place, right? Look at all these open windows.
Yeah.
I just noticed this as we were getting ready to end the show, and thank you so much, typically, for the coffee cup, $3.99 super sticker. I love the coffee cup. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We got to have you and your husband come up too. But look at this. All of these open windows.
Oh my goodness.
It makes you wonder. It
Yeah.
really does. You know,
My gosh.
it really makes you wonder.
You could communicate with the other side by being in the window and the other person in the other window waving hi.
Yeah, you could stalk that apartment building from the parking lot behind 1122.
Yeah, look at it. They're open.
Just crazy. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Look at all these white cars, people.
Oh my God.
Look at all these white cars. No matter what footage you see, white cars, white cars. You just saw an Elantra a second ago parked there on King Road. White cars everywhere.
Anyway.
But,
Well, fun.
thank you so much. We'll be back Wednesday night, y'all, 7:30 Central. And I'll be doing some more Idaho shows this week too. Like I said, I'm going to get back into this combo deep dive that I was going to do a couple years ago, and I'm going to finish that. That's something.
Yeah, I never get tired of talking about this case. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to break down the sounds of the different vehicles between the grub truck and Linda Lane, because I really, back then after I deep dove in both, it was like, all right, I really feel like all these vehicles were going from grub truck to the house, grub truck to the house, grub truck to the house. And I heard a lot of the similar vehicles from the grub truck in the Linda Lane, specific mufflers and stuff like that. And so I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think it's going to be alarming when I really feel like the house was being watched that night and the girls were being watched, from before the grub truck. I really feel like they were being watched from before Corner Club. I really do. But we'll have that coming up and some other stuff, and we'll be doing some different shows all week too. So thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Yolie.
Good night. Sorry about the search warrants. I don't have that, experience. I don't know. And I don't want to say something that later on they're going to say, oh, this attorney was talking about this. She don't know what she's talking about, because I really don't.
It's all these other states too. Hey,
it's
right down there. It's all speculation right now. All right. Good night, everybody. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
See you later, Yolie. Thank you again.
Okay over there? Is your victim at the hospital? Someone shot there. Alright, do you see them take pictures of is the domestic related? She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson, who's possibly with the daughter. Where's that with this? Uh-huh.